Hello and welcome to another special episode of the 5 to 9 podcast. We have another great interview lined up for you guys today. My absolute pleasure to introduce to you a man from a band that I've been following for a little while. I first saw them a few years ago perform at 110 Above Festival in a small barn. Was absolutely blown away by their live performance. Has been an absolute joy to see them live every time since. They've had a #1 album. They've got their latest album, KOKO, on the way, which stands for Keep On Keeping On. Absolute pleasure to introduce Thom Rylance from The Lottery Winners. Tom, how are you doing today? Get the fireworks going.
Theme tune like Stone Cold Steve Austin or something. Yeah. What did you ask me? I was thinking about
how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm good, man. I've had a busy day. I've been fishing. I went fishing, and then I went to see Sabrina Carpenter. Then I had a boxing fight with a few guys in a boxing gym. What else did it? Oh, and then loads of zombies came in my house, and I had to shoot them. It's proper mad, mate. I've got one of them Meta Quest 3s, and I've just been like in virtual reality all day.
No way.
I've done some crazy things. It's so much better than real life.
I mean, that sounds like a mad day. I was starting to believe that was real up until the zombies, I think.
What if zombies are the most real part of it?
Oh, there you go.
We're all zombies.
We're getting into the deep stuff already.
Have you been on them VR things?
I've not actually. I feel like I'm missing out now.
You are, mate. Oh, it's crazy. Like, it's so weird. I'm just walking about as this little avatar. I prefer avatar life.
That's it. So, yeah, before we jump in, so for the Spotify version of this podcast, we will include a couple of your tracks throughout as well. So the first one that we're going to kind of introduce your music to the listeners is the You Again featuring Reverend The Makers.
Yeah.
Which was...
Wouldn't you agree?
Fantastic. Obviously the lead single for this latest project. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this song and obviously collaborating with Jon McClure?
Well, I've become really close friends with Jon McClure. I'd say we speak pretty much every day. And I see a lot of myself in him, and he says the same about me. We're both just like mad ADHD, and we just text each other all day, just trying to make each other laugh. He's also just the most amazing storyteller. Like, he'll start telling a story and you'll just get so lost in like his warmth. He's so funny. Just this, I think he's literally 8'4" and this big presence in a room, and so cuddly and so lovely, and also a very talented songwriter. So when we became friends, we were like, we should probably write something together. What do you think? And he just WhatsApped me. There was a little bit of back and forth, but it was like 2 a.m. And he WhatsApped me the chorus, made me think of you again. And I was like, John, I'm not going to sleep now. Like, you just literally sent me a hit song. So I literally did a voice note back, and the verse just came to me all at once. And I'd sent him a voice note back of the verse, and he's like, yeah, we're on to something. And then the next day, I literally just recorded the whole song and sent it to him. And that was You Again. It was just, yeah, it was nice because it kind of came directly after we were just sending each other animal noises for ages without any kind of explanation. We were just sending each other voice notes of animal impressions. And then he just sent me this song.
That was it. That was the eureka moment. Just like,
you know, and it became our first ever like radio hit, really. Like, it got on Radio 2 and stuff. And it was the most Shazammed song in the country for like a week or something. Wow. So, you know, I really like it. Do you really like it?
Yeah, cracking song. So let's talk about KOKO. I was just been reading the press release this week, and
release.
I know, all pro.
So proper.
Who wrote that? So yeah, I got the press release through. So whoever's doing your PR is going to all these weird and wonderful places.
We had a PR. I don't even know what it's for.
So yeah, I had that come through. Obviously, there was some comments from yourself. Talking about the anxiety you felt following up art, and art being anxiety replacement therapy. For those unaware, your previous album.
Yeah, title in it. Should we all just take a little second?
Yeah.
Just to appreciate that amazing title that I thought of without any grown-ups asking me to. I just thought of it all by myself. Anxiety replacement therapy.
I love that. I keep on keeping on as well. Love it. So you keep on going.
Well, I keep on keeping on is kind of something that like my family have said for a long time. Like in troubling times, like I recall like my grandparents saying it to me and stuff like. But I didn't find the acronym. I was just like, I kind of put it in a few songs, and then it was like, well, the album's got to be called Keep On Keeping On. And then our drummer, Joe, was like, oh, KOKO. And I was like, oh, that's really... yeah, we're going to have to...
Yeah, we're going to have to go with that. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, that's the follow-up. Obviously, Art that came before went to #1 here in the UK. And obviously you mentioned, the anxiety of, that added pressure of the follow-up now. You got to follow up a #1 album. I guess I want to ask first of all, when did this album start to come together? And was there anything that you kind of did differently this time around off the back of, that success?
Yeah, it was important for me not to make Art Part 2. I didn't want to do that. But everything that I write kind of comes from the things that I'm feeling at the time. It's very autobiographical, and so it was kind of just addressing all the things that I was feeling. I got my ADHD diagnosis during the time of writing this album, and although it was blatantly obvious to everybody that I had it, it was getting that piece of paper, and it was a strange kind of mix of emotions for me, because I felt relief that it was like, yeah, okay, this explains everything about why I got kicked out of 2 schools, why I couldn't do that, the formal education route. I felt like I was broken. I couldn't like do simple things that other people could do. It explained it, and that was a relief. But then I also had like kind of almost a mourning period where I was like, yeah, but if there was more awareness around this then, or if I'd been tested then, and there was support for me instead, I wouldn't have had to go through my life feeling broken, and I wouldn't have had those experiences of like deep rejection, getting kicked out of a school, and then going to a new school and having to meet people, and like the anxiety of that. Like one of the songs is kind of directly about that. And there's a song called Panic Attack on there as well, which is about a panic attack that I had when I had to go into a new school. And so, I mean, I should just bloody get over it, really. Like, I'm still going on about school and that. I'm literally 23 years old. What am I doing?
It's the formative years, though. That stuff stays with you.
Stop going on about it. But it does. And because of this diagnosis, it brought a lot of it back up. So that the themes of the album kind of are self-acceptance and self-forgiveness, but also reflection, and just But if you don't want to get into it that deep, you don't have to. You know what I mean? It's still catchy and brilliant.
Yeah, that's it. That's the best kind of albums, though. You can either enjoy it on a superficial level or peel back the layers and dig into it a little bit more. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, whether you like David Lynch or Dancing on Ice.
Yeah, we got you covered. We've got the whole market. Oh, love that. So we've just obviously we mentioned you again with Jon McClure, but there's some other like really interesting collaborations on this one. Frank Turner, who you've obviously worked with a few times now, Rick Witter of Shed 7, and most intriguingly for me, Chad Kroeger of Nickelback. How did that last one come about? Because I know you did the that brilliant sea shanty cover of Rockstar back during COVID. Did it all start off the back of that?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It did, and so I am very grateful that we did that. Although I feel like that sea shanty thing will probably haunt me for the rest of my life. I feel like it needs context, that sea shanty, because it was like during COVID and during like that weird time where everyone was just in their underpants, not knowing what to do. You know, like all kinds of postmen were kind of going viral on TikTok, just doing like sea shanties and that. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, just do a sea shanty. I don't know. I think that's what people are doing. And we just kind of by accident did Nickelback. And then they got in touch the next day because it like blew up on TikTok overnight. And then I had a message from Nickelback and I'm like, this has got to be a wind up. What are you talking about? You know, I used to watch Kerrang on TV and like literally How You Remind Me was on it every third song.
So
Yeah. So they got in touch and we're just like, hey, we think it's great and funny. Do you want to do it together? So then I ended up on a Zoom call with the whole of Nickelback, like just trying to look at Chad's kitchen behind him.
See what oven he's got.
Yeah. A beautiful oven, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then that sea shanty thing happened. They put it on Spotify and it's got like, I don't know, 25 million plays there and like loads more over. Yeah, it is nuts. And it'll forever live at the top of our Spotify, even though I'm making this really beautiful artistic music. Like, but fine. But then they were just like, they were doing a tour and they were like, fans coming out on tour? And we were like, yeah. What, in stadiums? Like, yeah. No, it wasn't stadiums, sorry. It was arenas. How dare I?
Still big rooms.
In arenas, yeah, they were very big rooms. And while we were on that tour, became friends with them, obviously, as you do. And now Chad frequently FaceTimes me, and which is weird. Like, it's just weird, man.
That's surreal, yeah.
You know, I had this moment where he FaceTimed me, and he was like walking through his house, and he was showing me some of the cool stuff, and I was showing him some of my cool stuff. We were just like showing each other our just like two school kids. And he actually picked up the photograph from look at this photograph.
No.
And FaceTime, and it was just like this moment. He was like, look at this.
That's probably one of those moments where you were like wanting to gather everyone round.
Yeah, like, just like, Chad, please can I screenshot this? Yeah. I've got it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, on that tour, I was writing all the time because I always do. Especially when I come off stage, that's like everyone else goes to bed and I kind of sit in a travel lodge and write songs because that's where I'm most buzzy. I'd written this song that I thought he'd sound great on. I built up some courage and I texted it to him and didn't hear anything. He left me on red for hours and I was nervous. I was like, oh, I've blown it. I'm pushing this too far. What am I doing? He's already taken us on tour. Like, why am I... And then he called me like in the middle of the night, like 4 a.m, and he was just like, you bastard. And I was like, oh no. And he was like, I can't get this fucking song out of my head. Sorry. And I was like, no way, man, do you like it? And he was like, yeah. And then literally the next day we recorded it together in a dressing room in Munich.
No way.
And it was just one of those weird life moments because, you know, I'm there watching Chad sing this song that I'd written and he'd like had so much input in, and he was like, his brain was fantastic to work, like to watch work, and he's a really talented songwriter. And then I just had this like flashback to being 12 years old watching Kerrang, but it was happening in real life and the song was mine. And it was, sorry if that was a very detailed answer to your question.
No, what a story. No, that's exactly what we want. Watching those people as you're growing up and then just to, you know, then be a part of that whole situation. Wow.
It's mad, mate. Like, it keeps happening to me. It keeps happening. Like, all these people that I've looked up to all my life, like, quite a few of them are in my phone book now, which is just bananas. Like, it really is. I'm so grateful that, you know, coming from I'm not saying I had the worst childhood in the world, but you know, I'm a working class kid from a working class background who did really badly at school and college, and nothing ever made sense, and it was always really hard, and I never thought that I'd get anywhere or achieve anything, because that was kind of instilled into me throughout the education system, and being where I'm from, it was just like nobody does anything, and just to have these moments, it just makes me so grateful and proud.
Yeah.
To get a text off, you know, Noel Gallagher is just like, you're fucking cool, man.
That's it. I've done something right. Absolutely. Yeah. What an affirmation. So yeah, obviously that Rockstar cover, you mentioned obviously released during COVID. Both of your 2 albums obviously came out around that time too. And I think it's interesting because, you know, where COVID had like this huge negative impact on the industry, I do think some artists really seized like the opportunities presented at that time with, you know, the content that they produced, you know, the sea shanties, the Postman will get doing, everything like that. You know, just being forced to think outside the box with how they maintained like this engagement with their fan base. What was it like, you know, creating and releasing your debut album during that period? In a strange way, do you feel like you got some exposure that you may not have had without the pandemic happening?
I mean, at the time, we'd waited 10 years to release our first album, right? And it was all ready to go. And we literally, the release date was the 13th of March, 2020, which was literally the day that they locked us down. Or it was like, I remember I was in TK Maxx and there was like an announcement, and I looked at my phone and it was like Boris Johnson locks the country down, and I was just like, well, we've waited 10 years to put out this record and that's it, you know, it's gone, kind of thing. And I was just like, nothing's ever going to work out for us. But we've not really ever been the kind of people who would just moan and not try and find the best in any situation. And obviously it was an awful situation for anybody. There was barely, you know, there was no silver lining. But if I had to find a silver lining, I feel like it gave creative people quite a lot of time. And time is the best thing for creativity. So I spent a lot of time writing, but I just spent every single day, like, I wouldn't go to bed at night unless I'd made something. So whether it was writing a song or making a video or I'd do a drawing or a little poem, or I just wanted to make sure I wasn't wasting any of those wasted days that we all had. Yeah. And the whole band too, like it wasn't to promote the band. It wasn't, we were doing like live streams and I was interviewing people, and that's where I first chatted to Frank, and Rick Astley came on it. Like loads of like people were available. So we just asked and people said, yeah. And it wasn't to promote the band necessarily. Obviously it did. Like we actually grew, but it to keep us sane more than anything. It gave us something to do. It gave us a purpose. Like we were doing covers. We were putting together this weird TV show. We were just doing something because we needed to do something. So yeah, maybe the more creative bands kind of found their way through that time a little easier than people that aren't necessarily as creative. But I don't know. It was tough for everybody, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And yeah, I just remember like coming out of that, and like some of the first shows that I saw coming out of that, just, yeah, it was just, I was there in tears, like just coming back, and I can't imagine what it was like on the other side, like having your livelihood come back, basically.
Crying for about 43 years. Solid. Just no one was having a good time. You know, each other going like, what is he doing?
We don't have to keep 2 meters apart.
Mate, it was bizarre, wasn't it? Well, I remember we got booked for a gig that didn't end up happening, but it was like a driving gig at like Bolton Wanderers Stadium, and they ended up pulling the whole like line of shows. But how mad would that have been? It was
Yeah.
just the most awful time, and you know, but not for me as much as like
Yeah.
and doctors and the NHS and you know. So really, what were we even doing? I was just making stupid videos. Like I know that I was very unimportant in that time.
No, I mean that's the stuff that, like you say, kept you guys sane, kept people going as well. Like that kind of content all played a part for sure. But yeah, I mean, obviously there was. You mentioned at the start, you know, there's a couple of quite open and personal moments on this record that you've shared already. UFO, you know, that brilliantly imaginative music video, all about, you know, growing up and feeling like an outsider. Obviously, making people. You obviously did that with the aim to, you know, pull on the heartstrings because it certainly did that.
I didn't really mean to. So I wrote that video concept.
Yeah.
It's about my first day at the primary school that I went to. I got kicked out of primary school, then I went to a new one, and then I actually went. It was my birthday on the day that I went into the school, and I just didn't tell anyone. And so it's like I've always kind of had this like non-birthday that that I can look back on. It didn't feel like it was my birthday. Like when you're in primary school and your birthday comes around, that's supposed to be so exciting, and you bring lollies in for everybody and get birthday beats, and then you have a birthday party. But I didn't get any of that, and I don't know, it just kind of stuck with me how that day felt. Like I can still vividly remember it, and that's where that video idea came from. And
Wow.
but yeah, it is a bit of a tearjerker. Like I was on the set doing it, and
Yeah.
he drops the rocket. I was watching it on the monitor, and she drops the rocket, and then there's like that zoom in shot on her face, and I was in tears. How amazing was Josephine? She's like,
Oh, brilliant. And the one, was it Turnaround, your latest video as well, with like
oh,
the young lads in there.
yeah, man, he's great.
Fantastic. But no, obviously there's, yeah, UFO and then Superpower as well, which is obviously, you know, your ultra catchy ADHD positive anthem. Was it a cathartic feeling writing and sharing those songs? And obviously you talked about, you know, getting that diagnosis and it all starting to make sense. But, you know, what has been the response, you know, from, you know, those experiencing those same feelings and also living with ADHD as well?
Well, I get so Superpower. That I wrote that I was having a really like one of those reflective days when I was like what I was talking about before, thinking about how things could have been different. But we were playing at the O2 Arena that night with Nickelback, right? So then I thought, but things worked out, mate. So like,
Yeah.
what you doing? And then we did that show, and usually I'll come off stage and I'll have some kind of criticism for something, but that one went perfectly. Like I kind of did get a little bit ADHD on stage as I do, and got a bit carried away and lost, but like everybody was enjoying it, and like the whole of the O2 Arena like laughed at something I said, and then were like really behind it, and it was just one of those amazing moments, and I just felt like a superhero in that moment. And I just literally went to my travel lodge, still in a travel lodge after the O2, by the way. Went to my travel lodge and just kind of wrote the whole of Superpower that night, wrote and recorded, really. Just, it kind of just flowed like some kind of Eminem freestyle. And then like the next day, I played it to everyone in the van, and they were just like, you know, not asked because it was early, and like they're like, give us a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, like so I'm proud, and the ADHD community in particular have been really good about it, and we did it with the ADHD Foundation, and people reach out to me all the time and say that the way I talk about it makes them feel better, and
Oh, that's
that
fantastic.
means so much to me because, you know, I've realized now that all my heroes kind of do have ADHD, but I didn't know that as a kid, and I didn't know I did. So I think if I was a kid now, and and there was a band that I really liked, and I had ADHD and he did, I wouldn't see it as like a bad thing, you know.
No, absolutely not. Like you say, it is definitely, like, you look at some of the top creatives. I mean, good example at the moment with Lola Young, #1 single, one of the biggest artists in the world. She's also had the same situation where she just got diagnosed with it, and it's look at what it's done for her as well. So yeah, it's quite incredible, really.
Most of Jon McClure, Robbie Williams, the pop star who's my friend. I think 15 #1s he might have had.
But he's my questions on him.
Yeah, mate, and he's got it. Just a lot of people that that are in the creative scene, and I don't know what it is about us all, but we kind of come together and get each other really well, and yeah, it's just nice, man. Like I've got like a lot of friends who can relate to some of the things that other people maybe can't, which is nice.
No, I love that. And you mentioned as well, like, obviously the songs that you mentioned, obviously the one with Chad, with Jon, and that one there as well, Superpower, they all came together quite quickly. Is that kind of what happens when with your songwriting, that it's kind of like you just have that thunderbolt and then...
Yeah, I think, but I don't want to constantly go on about ADHD. I'm kind of hyper aware of doing that, but with that, like the whole nature of your brain kind of is, you really obsess about something and like really hyper focus on a thing, and particularly if it's to do with emotions, like the emotions can be really intense, and you have difficulty regulating your emotions, so you get these really intense feelings, and the best way for me to get them out is into a song. So it'll be just like straight from my brain into the thing, and there's not a lot of time in between, and which I think is good, because there has been times where I've been writing a song and it's taken a long time, and then it's never been good. Like, I feel like there's nothing worse than like a disingenuous song, and if you really start pulling it apart and changing things, then it's not genuine anymore. And I feel like the audience can hear through that. Do you know what I mean? I certainly can. I think I can like diagnose a pop song that's been written around a table by a bunch of writers over something where they're really singing from the heart. And the ones where they're really singing from the heart, that gets me, man. Like music to me, it's all about emotions and feelings and what it can do for you. And yeah. So I can't remember what you asked me, but I think that was my answer.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, and it's that. Yeah, like you say, those songs that come in instinctively. It just translates easily as well. I found, like you say.
Well, Chris Martin was at Rockfield Studios and he didn't have a hit, and he had his guitar and he went outside and looked up and there was loads of stars and went, "Look at the stars." Do you know what I mean? Like the best. I don't want to sound cheesy, but I've heard a lot of songwriters say this, that we're just like antennas and all the songs are just there anyway, and then we just are lucky enough to like receive them, like they're all just in the air. I wish that mine brought in some hits though sometimes. Had a better antenna. Like, why did I not get Thinking Out Loud by Ed Sheeran?
Yeah. I need to improve my signal. Get the 5G booster in.
Mambo number 5.
Mambo number 5. Living Da Vida Loca, if we're going back.
Can you imagine? Ricky Martin's got a well good antenna.
Yeah. It's not so good these days, maybe. Your latest collaboration with Frank Turner, Dirt and Gold. Obviously worked with Frank, as you mentioned before, on Letter to Myself, which definitely one of my favourites off your last record. What is Frank like to work with, and what's the story behind this new song that you've got together?
Well, Frank is like exactly how you'd imagine Frank to be. Like, he is one of the hardest working, most talented, most intelligent, funny, big-hearted people that I've ever met. Like, I'm so lucky. Like, all, like John, Frank, Chad, not Rick, not so much. No, Rick. They're all just like,
I've seen him play the drums.
They're all just love. Oh, you mean Rick Astley? I meant Rick Witter.
Oh, did you? Sorry.
Rick Astley is well. Oh, and he is a lovely guy. He really is a lovely guy. When we were playing with him, he'd be like coming to our sound checks, taking pictures of us on the stage like a proud dad. And I was like, Rick, you're like the cutest. What was I saying? Oh, Frank. Yeah. So working with Frank, I admire his songwriting, but I admire his work ethic, like the way he treats people, the way he looks after his crew. And so it's just amazing to get to work with the guy. I've been a big fan for so many years. And I think it's kind of become a tradition now that he's just going to sing on every album of ours because this is the third one.
Oh, he's got to, yeah.
He has to now, doesn't he? Like, you can't stop after 3. And then Dirt and Gold was a song that I wrote, and as soon as I kind of started writing it, I was like, oh, this is a Frank one. Like, this has to be a Frank one, and it's a song about creation and destruction and finding the positives in even the bleakest of situations. How good's that? I sounded so clever then.
That's a great answer. So yeah, we mentioned this summer, and I've got to ask you about supporting Robbie Williams on his stadium tour. I said that I had some questions about Robbie. Angels, you know, it's been part of your festival set every time I've seen you, I think. Yeah, I know he's a huge inspiration to you. Obviously, I've seen the story where you got up and sang Strong at your school, first time you performed live. You mentioned as well also someone who lives with ADHD. What was it like getting that phone call, and how are you feeling about, you know, performing from not the arenas now, but this one is stadiums all over Europe? How are you feeling about that?
Oh, mate. Well, that initial phone call was quite emotional, really, because we just started out having a chat and just, you know, making each other laugh. And it was just like a bit of a chat. Like, he reached out, he liked one of our songs, and he was just like, hey, do you want to have a chat? And I was like, yeah, okay. And then we did a chat. And then he's like, towards the end of the call, we were on for about an hour. He was just like, Tom, I've spent a lot of time just like listening to everything you've made. I've watched all your videos. I've watched every interview. And I just want you to know that you're really special. And I was just like, whoa. And he was like, you are a really special person. You've got something that not many people have. And to have like Robbie Williams on the phone saying that to you, I can get emotional now.
Yeah.
It was wild, mate. It really was. Like, I'm such a big fan of his as well. Like, genuinely have been all my life. And I've got tears in my eyes now because it was a real moment in my life.
Oh.
And then we just started talking all the time. Like, he kind of check in with me and ask how I was doing, and I'd check in with him because he's just been doing promo for his film, which is amazing.
I've not got to see it yet. I'm desperate to see it.
It is incredible. But he's kind of been everywhere, hasn't he? Like, one day he's in Australia, and then he's in America, and then he's in God knows where. He's just somewhere all the time, and it's tough on you, that. Yeah. And as someone with ADHD, there was quite a lot of like being overwhelmed and burnouts and stuff like that. So, you know, we'd just phone each other and just be like, hi mate, like how are you feeling? And he's like, oh, a bit overwhelmed. Have you been overwhelmed today? And I'm like, yeah. Have you been overwhelmed? So he's like, yeah. And then we'd just kind of both be in bed on FaceTime, just kind of talking to each other. And it was so refreshing to see. It's like, what I am like, whatever he is to me, whatever the opposite of like Team U is. Like, he's the, you know, like the legit version. Like, he's like Selfridges, and I'm Team U. But to kind of see that, and for him to like mentor me a bit, which, you know, he does, is just bananas. And then when he said, oh, do you want to come around the world with me and play in some stadiums and we can hang out and I'll show you around Denmark. I was like,
you're in a fanboy's like, oh.
Yeah, I know, mate. I played it so cool as well. Like, I really do. Like, I just play it. I'm just like, oh, hey, Rob. You know,
Yeah. Just gonna
but
have a FaceTime with Rob.
yeah, yeah. I obviously don't take it for granted. It's
Yeah.
absolutely crazy to me, and I hope he knows how much I appreciate not only the opportunity, which is obviously huge, but
Mm.
just like friendship. I really appreciate his friendship and his knowledge and his wisdom and his insane sense of humor. He's so funny. Yeah, what a guy. I'm just gushing over him right now.
No, I love that. It's amazing. And, speaking of support slots as well, I saw you at Rock City towards the end of 2023.
Oh
Probably,
God,
probably my favorite time that I've seen you guys.
I know that gig. I know what happened to that gig.
Yeah, ended up one of my favorite shows of the year. I know it obviously, meant a lot to you to finally play that stage again as headliners. Felt like a very emotional night, and catharsis for every not just yourselves, but everyone there. I think it was, definitely one of the most emotional shows I think I've ever been to. When you guys played Start Again at the end, I can still like picture it now, just like everyone just whole place going mad.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Rock City, what a venue! Like, I really want to go back to there, but yeah, to give it, I don't know if I should give it some context, but we played there as a support.
yeah, I mean, this was the question. This was the
Go
question.
on, just answer that.
The last time you played Rock City before, was supporting Embrace, and it was yeah, yeah, and it was that time you got taken off, which from what I've read, incredibly was just for showing them up with your live show, basically. I guess I want to know how that incident affected you at that point in your career, and how now you look at your own support slots. Because what it looks like for me, certainly with the tour that what you had in December and the tour you've got coming up, it seems to me like you've become a real champion of younger bands. Obviously before, but definitely since that moment, and giving them the opportunity to earn a new audience. So yeah, it was just like, was that like quite a moment for you at that point in your career?
I'm going to pick my words carefully, which is something I don't do very often. It's very, very important to me to be very respectful and to make sure that anybody who comes on tour with us has the best possible time, because it's tough touring, and it's definitely tough touring as a support band. We always make sure we pay everyone really fairly, but even with that, it's a lot of the time it's a financial kind of investment. It costs money to get a van and
100%,
not be at work and go and stay in a hotel or rough it. And so yes, from my previous experiences with certain other bands, certain other band, everyone else has been I have very much made sure that that everybody's very, very looked after, and don't just get literally 3, when there's 4 people in the band, bottles of water for their rider. Like,
oh wow.
but I'm not slagging anyone off. Everything is water under the bridge. It was difficult at the time because we had invested in hiring a van. We had invested in all our hotel rooms, and it's just seemed like an absolutely crazy decision had been made. But everything happens for a reason, and whatever. I
As
wouldn't think.
as they say, the good will out. Oh.
Like that. That the one Chris
I had to do it.
Martin?
I had to do
That
it.
one Chris Martin wrote for him.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, going back to that Rock City night, what again, like returning to that stage as headliners after that incident, what did that? Obviously, it meant a lot to you, but what was it like looking back?
Oh, I tell you what, it was like looking at the audience. It was like it was a lot more full than it was for them. No, you're making me be naughty. Stop making me be naughty. It was amazing. I love the venue. It was, mate, every time we walk out in one of these venues where proper bands play, I can't believe it. Like our whole tour that we've got coming up is like in real venues that proper bands play. And you know, we haven't sold an embarrassingly small amount. They're all like either
sold out, yeah.
Or very nearly. And it's like, what is going on? Because it's weird. I still don't feel like a proper band. We can be on all the proper festivals on the proper main stage with like properly 50,000 people in front of us. But in my head, I'm just like, oh my God, we're just blagging it and no one knows.
We're going to get found out.
Yeah, it honestly feels like that. So it's wild. It's wild to be doing proper stuff and going to venues where I've seen my favorite bands and then, you know, more recently having kind of fake merch outside.
Yeah, I saw that. We made it. I saw that.
Yeah, man, like what? That is the best thing ever. I cannot believe that people are making fake merch and selling it outside our gigs. It's like, that's what famous bands have. It was like a real moment for me, that. So, yeah, man, like every single day I feel lucky to get to do this. I really do.
Oh, no, that's awesome. And obviously, you're talking about your touring schedule there. Obviously, by the time this goes out, you'll have finished your UK tour. Then you've got your European dates. You got your record store dates as well. And then, you know, straight into festival season and the Robbie shows.
I'm literally going to leave this house in a couple of days and then, like, come back home in October.
That's mad.
Hopefully, like, much thinner and more handsome and more famous. And then...
Oh, it's not possible.
It'd be nice to be very, you know, even slightly rich. I don't think that'll ever happen. Is it too early for Easter eggs? Because I'm just doing it anyway.
Yeah, get the cream eggs on the go. Get them on the rider. Yeah, the live shows, it seems to be obviously where you guys thrive. Do you feel once, you know, someone sees you perform live, you know, that's it, you've got them as a fan for life?
That's not for me to say, I suppose. But I will tell you that my favorite thing is, my two of my favorite things, going and playing a show like supporting Nickelback when nobody knows who you are, and finishing the show where everybody knows who you are and they're all loving it. And, you know, like that is such a feeling to go out there and just, yeah, because like it's kind of awkward, isn't it? Like, hi, you know, like I am, but it's me for 40 minutes. Like, so that feeling probably just goes back to the desperate need for affirmation and people to like me and to fit in, you know. But like when you get that on like such a scale of where 20,000 people are literally cheering and clapping at you. Oh, that's a good feeling. I love that. And then another one of my favorite things to do is if we have a photographer with us, I always ask them to take some photos from the back, obviously because it looks great. You see the whole crowd. But then my favorite thing to do is like in the van after the show is I'll just zoom in on people's faces. And not in a weird way. Like, because 9 times out of 10, they've got this huge smile. And they're just like beaming. And I'm like, oh my God, like we're actually bringing some kind of joy to people. And what more could I ever want apart from, you know, money and fame? Like if I can't have that, at least
I'll take the smile.
yeah, at least that. And that's a really nice feeling just to make people smile, you know.
No, you must say you're great at doing that. Like amount of times I've seen you guys live and I'm left in stitches. It's just always a great time. And I was going to ask, have you had any particularly, you mentioned going out in front of those crowds that don't know you. Have you had any particularly like tough crowds where you've had to really work to win them over?
Ooh, none that like spring to mind. It has happened, I'm sure, where you've got to work a bit harder. Yeah. But I don't want to sound arrogant. I can't really recall any times where by the end it's not been okay.
Yeah.
You know, Like, yeah. I'm sure not everybody likes us that sees us. In fact, I've seen people being horrible online. What is? Don't do that. I will read that, and it will really upset me, and I won't be able to get out of bed for days. Stop doing that. Like, if you hate my band, or you hate any band, or you hate a film, or you hate an actor, you don't have to write it. Don't have to write it on one of the posts.
Yeah. Keep it to yourself. Keep it to
Keep it in
yourself.
your brain.
Yeah.
I don't like everything. I'm not going around loving everything and everyone, but I tell you what I don't do, just express it all the time. You don't need to push out all that negativity. Let's just push out some positivity. And so, yeah, sorry about ranting on that one. But, but yeah, like, I can't remember what we were talking about. I just remembered some nasty comments about me.
Well, I was gonna jump into. I'd go back to like your support slot. No, you supported. Obviously, you mentioned the top Noel Gallagher as well on his arena tour. Another person, by the sounds of it, you got on really well. He ended up giving you one of his guitars. I was wondering, obviously one of the big talking points from this year, the Oasis reunion. When that got announced, I know certainly you and Blossoms, I think, were two of the bands, that people thought
that. There was like loads of press articles going like,
thinking that you guys are going to be the you're going to be the ones to get the nod. You're from that neck of the woods. You've supported Noel previously, all this kind of stuff. I just wanted to know from your side. Obviously, they ended up going with Richard Ashcroft cast in the end. From your side, were you expecting the call? What was your take? Were you slightly disappointed that they went with, artists from their generation rather than, passing the torch, so to speak?
Not at all. I wasn't disappointed at all. I think this whole Oasis reunion thing is so massive culturally and for music and for guitar bands. And it's going to really I think it has like birthed a real interest in British guitar music. And that is all that I've ever wanted. And of course, it would have been nice to do them shows. Turns out we can't do any of them because we're out with Robbie. So,
yeah, that's it. You were already booked.
But yeah, man, like I text Noel on the day that the tickets went on sale. And we were in an airport in Jersey flying over to do a festival. And it was like Black Mirror or something, mate. Like every single person in the airport was on the Ticketmaster waiting screen. Everybody. Wow. Like you look around and everybody was trying to get tickets. And I texted him just like, mate, what is going on? I'm in an airport and every single person is on the ticket site. And he was like, it's Oasis, isn't it, mate? Like,
what do you expect? Yeah.
But no, I actually know that he was shocked. He was a bit shocked. And he was like, there's literally 7 million people waiting right now. And I was like, mate, I know. And then I was like, but wow. I don't need a ticket, do I?
Yeah, just drop that in at the end. Plus one as well.
I mean, of course, I asked him about the support thing. Like, you've got to, haven't you? I was like, listen, no, I know that like every single band on the planet is going to want to do this show, but if there's a ring, my hat's in it, just so you know that. And he was very sweet about it,
Oh, I love that. No, that's great. And, I don't want to keep you too long. Appreciate the time that you've taken here. I just want to round off. We're going to round off with your latest single, Turnaround, which obviously feels tailor-made for summer festival season. Could already see everyone busting out their dance moves, like little Tom in the video. Tell us a bit about that track and the video. How did this one come about?
Yeah, literally that. Like, I just had this vision. I had it in a dream, genuinely, where we were playing, and it was in the dream. It was Kendall Calling, and it was the main stage.
Kendall Calling, nice.
Yeah, and the whole audience. It was weird because I dreamt this like drone shot. I went above everyone and everyone was just moving at the same time, doing the same thing. And I thought, wow, that is just so powerful. And so, yeah, that's what Turnaround became. And I was just like, I got to try it. Like, if I've done it in a dream, then I've got to try it. Yeah. So, I mean, we've still not ever played it live. I don't know if it's going to work. I guess it's only one.
Work.
Man, we'll see. Everyone might be like, what are you doing? Or it could get played for weddings. played at weddings.
Yeah, there you go.
Forever.
It's the new, was it Oops Upside Your Head?
Yeah, exactly. Like, mate, I'll take it, you know. And then the video, didn't really have a concept for it. And it was like a bit late in the day. And we're like, shit, what are we going to do about this video? I don't know what we're going to do. And then my cousin, my second cousin, Lorna, texted me and just sent me a picture of her son. And she was like, we've got him some new glasses. Doesn't he look like you? And I was like, oh my God. Give me the contact details for his agent. Immediately, like, is he free next Tuesday? I've got to get him in a video.
Oh, that's brilliant. He's going to love that when he's older as well.
Oh, I'm going to get paid his 18th, that, innit?
Yeah. You just need to hope he doesn't go like the Nevermind baby.
Did you try suing him or something?
Yeah. Could you imagine? Oh, God. No, that's great. Well, thanks again very much for your time, taking time out to just have a chat about all things KOKO. All I can say now is wish you best of luck with the new record. Can't wait to hear it myself. It's out on the 21st of March. Hopefully I'll try and get to your Nottingham Record Store show as well. See you guys there. And yeah, thanks for coming on.
Oh, mate, you know what? It's been such a pleasure. I've really enjoyed chatting to you. You've got a really kind face.
Oh, thank you. I'll take that.